Well, the cover-up queen is cashing in.
How do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? And this is my answer. And what I mean by that is, in an era of misinformation, disinformation, what I have decided to do, and I really have thought long and hard about this, is to follow my own compass.
They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not. He is as sharp as ever. There's been no cover-up. I want to be very clear about that.
Those didn't age well. Well, if you haven't heard by now, Karine Jean-Pierre is leaving the Democratic Party and writing a book. Suffice to say, ex-Biden staffers, they were not happy, trashing the former press secretary like crazy, some calling it a grift, others a bizarre cash grab. Former Biden policy advisor Tim Wu posted, then deleted this, quote, "The real problem with Karine Jean-Pierre was that she was kind of dumb. No interest in understanding harder topics, just gave random, incoherent answers on policy. Ouch." Even the usual lapdogs in the media could not hide their mockery.
This is just all an attempt to sell books. And that is what the general consensus is right now.
There's something called loyalty, and that you should not go out and kiss and tell and kind of poo-poo your colleagues and poo-poo your Democratic Party that puts you on this pedestal.
As a Democrat myself, what I would rather see is people rolling up their sleeves. Like, you got a solution, bring it to the table.
I don't think I can emphasize how brutal this is. Former colleagues, she's probably wondering who these people are, criticizing her personally, saying she was one of the most ineffectual, unprepared people I've ever worked with. She had meltdowns after interviews that asked about a topic not sent by producers. Another former colleague, the amount of time spent coddling her was astronomical compared to our attention and actual matters of substance. Jesse, you affectionately call her the binder, and it appears that the Biden White House was not a fan of the binder.
Well, now I call her DEI Tapper, because it's the same book Tapper wrote. And now CNN's like, oh, it's a money grab. Well, then what the hell was Tapper's book then? Not a money grab? Listen, you can't say Biden was great and the White House was the best since FDR and then leave the party 6 months later and say the White House was broken. If you knew it was broken, if you said all that stuff, you should have left and let Kirby take the job. Remember, Kirby was better and everybody wanted Kirby. But she was a black gay woman, and you couldn't touch her because of this whole DEI structure they had. And so everybody out there saying the same thing we did. Mm-hmm. This thing comes out, and they're like, she was unprepared, she was really stupid, and she was out of touch. That's what we said.
And we were called racist.
And we were called racist and sexist. And now they're saying the exact same thing Fox said. They're saying the exact same thing everybody in the country saw. It's Tapper all over again.
And everyone knows that's not why you're racist.
Yeah, right. There are four deeper reasons. Oh, no. All right, we'll cut this off. Greg.
I'm kidding.
I know you are. 11:45 a.m. yesterday, about when the story broke. By 1:30 p.m., there was a Politico story saying 7 former colleagues had said the group text light up. That's 2 hours. I mean, thinking of you only have 4 former colleagues on the 5, but imagine if you announced a book and by 2 hours later you had your 4 former colleagues leak into Politico.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's Jesse kind of said everything I was going to say, but I'm going to defend her. It's on the Dems. They didn't hire her for loyalty.
Right.
They didn't hire her for competence. They hired her because she checks more boxes than an Amazon driver. They didn't. By showing up, she fulfilled the job, and they used her identity to shield the malfeasance of a cover-up. If you do come hard at her, it's because, you're obviously racist. And there are no loyalties in intersectionality or identity politics, because by definition, it is transactional. My identity is the commodity, and you get nothing more. I'm here as a person because of what I am. They hired a black lesbian, and they didn't expect anything beyond that. I'm gonna pretend I'm Jesse and use a troubling analogy.
Permission granted.
Kaylee, KJP, he's like a really hot girl, hired as a hostess at the restaurant. She's only there because she's hot. But if you expect her to answer the phones or check on a reservation, that's your fault.
You got me. You got
Well
me.
done. Well played. You know, Sandra, I'm just thinking, sitting in that office, you know, she's, that's hilarious. She's seeing private publicists on emails, government emails, and her colleagues reported her to White House counsel's office. I mean, that's crazy. What was she doing?
I think about the amount of viewers that we have in daytime television on Fox News Channel. She wouldn't give interviews. I mean, the entire time that she held that position, she would not come in and give an interview. We covered many of these White House press briefings. We carried them live during our show. And I don't think there was anybody who was watching her and thinking, wow, she's really in the inner circle of what's going on. You got the impression that she was kind of just shoved out the door to act the part of the White House press secretary, but we really questioned whether or not she was really giving us, you know, real information from the Oval Office. She spent a lot of that time talking about those false videos and deep fakes during Biden's decline. And she was convincing the media and telling the American public they were fools if they didn't believe that that was just partisan politics at play. You think back to all of those moments, and now you hear former White House staffers that worked with her going on the record. Actually, this is a former White House official under the Biden administration. She didn't know how to manage a team. She didn't know how to shape or deliver a message. It often created more problems than she solved. You got the sense sometimes when you're watching these briefings, it was like a NASCAR race, that there was a crash about to happen. So bottom line, I think people watching and seeing this happen think, what a disservice to the American public to have that person to have been our White House press secretary, answering the most critical questions for our nation at that time.
You know, Harold, I'm interested to see the posture she takes towards Biden, because she calls it a broken White House. But she, a month before the election, was promoted to senior advisor. They clearly saw her as someone loyal. Do you think she's still loyal?
Well, we'll see. So I take a little different approach to this. I don't know her, so there's no friendship or relationship. But I do think I don't like some of the things that people are saying, that the negative things about her being unprepared and her being not substantive. They kept her around for a long time. If they thought that was the case, certainly anyone could not be prepared and not be substantive, and you fired them. They didn't do that. Two, I don't like what she's done. I hate kiss and tellers. You don't work for the president of the United States and have that kind of proximity to him and then write a kiss and tell book. I think your point about the DEI thing is pretty funny. And Jesse's not a racist. He just plays one on TV. I'm joking. Two, I think the people who are saying some of these things about her and questioning her substance and so forth, I guess at some point, they don't know what she's going to write in this book. She talked about a White House that was broken. And I guess to your point, Greg and Jesse, you've been saying this for a long time, and two of you have as well in your shows, but the show has been saying this. You're going to have to wonder in the book, what did she know? When did she know it, and what did she do about it? As it relates to the cognitive decline, or for that matter, if she says the White House was broken. And those who were responsible for breaking it, I guess maybe some of the reason why they're being so critical of her is because of that. The whole thing is a mess. And I got to tell you, just as an outsider and someone doesn't know her, I'm not particularly interested in hearing her thoughts about being an independent. I'm glad she is, and I'm glad that she's figuring out her own political identity. But the whole thing is a mess. I mean, don't kiss and tell. Don't criticize your colleagues like this. And frankly, all of you are going to have questions to answer about what was happening in that White House.
But I would just say it's not just Republicans saying she was unprepared. These are former colleagues. They didn't say this about Jen Psaki. They didn't say this about me. They didn't say this about Sarah Sanders. Like, what motivated it?
But no, you all didn't write books about them either. So I just think it's a bad look for all of them. If you said you were going to write a book, they might have said something bad about you. Or if you know, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting anyone would say anything bad about you. And you got a little baby coming now. I don't want to say anything bad about you right now. My only point is, I think it's a bad look for all of them.
Yeah.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.